Good evening, everyone. Holy smoke, we're here for episode number 6 already. Time flies when you're having fun. Hope everyone's had a great week last week, enjoyed your weekend, and we have a ton of stuff to go through, guys. This is going to be really just crazy and amazing. A lot of new stuff has come in. Hey, what's up, Bubba Sue, Twin Pines, welcome in, and anybody else that's in there that I haven't seen yet. So we'll just kind of keep moving along with this, and thanks for coming in, everyone. Rideshare Rodeo, what's up? And Awesome Amy's in the house. We got everybody coming in. Got all the regulars stopping in, but guys, this is gonna be crazy. I'm super excited about this episode. I know last week cut that one a little bit short. Well, we're gonna make up for it probably this week. This week, I'm gonna try and keep things interesting because we have a lot of stuff that potentially can be dry material, but it's really important stuff for us. So we've we've always got our little fun topics that we've got that we'll jump into, and let's go ahead and jump into this one right now, real quick, and we'll see what everyone thinks of this one. Anybody got any guesses about what this video is about? Can y'all see where that Waymo is? Let's run this again, just in case you missed it before. Yep, good old Waymo not failing us. Stupid thing, it went on the other side of the railroad gates, and absolutely, Bubba Sue, we got to go take plenty of stuff to pick on with Waymo. I saw a bunch of stuff. I had other stuff sent to me, but that was the first one sent to me. Twin Pines says a Waymo sandwich. Almost was a Waymo sandwich. It was a slam sandwich. But for those of you that are listening to the podcast, it was a Waymo vehicle that was beyond the gates of the railroad crossing, and just sitting right there on the edge of the track. And hopefully there wasn't anybody in that thing, because that would have probably startled the I might have got a cleaning fee on that one. That might have startled the pee out of me, guys. I'm not gonna lie. So anyway, there we go. That's where we're already kicking this thing off with a little bit of Waymo excitement. But guys, come on, this is just another demonstration. When is enough enough? When are enough almost enough close calls going to be enough that they're going to go, holy crap, maybe we shouldn't let Waymo out there? And we're starting to see more and more incidents. And as I've said all along, Waymo can claim they have an impeccable safety record, but when you only have 3,000 freaking vehicles out there for a few hours each day, and there's millions of cars out there, of course your safety record's going to look impeccable compared to them, because it's statistically benign compared to everything that's going on in the real world, not your fantasy world, Waymo. So take a moment, look at these videos, take this shit serious before somebody gets hurt, guys. Legislators, you're not doing anything. Waymo, you're not doing anything. So I pray for the friends and family of the first person that gets dead because of this careless behavior. So anyway, again, a whole lot of stuff going on. Look, this is not a political channel. We're not trying to get political here, but bottom line is, because of world events, gas prices have surged quite a bit lately, and it's just completely gas prices are going off the hook. They went from 80 some dollars a barrel to $115 a barrel literally overnight, and then now they're back down. But of course we're still suffering from that with the gas prices, because that's the way the oil industry works. And don't get me wrong, I'm a capitalist, people. I love making money. I love people being able to make money, but we can't take advantage of consumers in the process, which is the whole reason, people like me and Steve and a whole lot of others are out there talking about the rideshare world. There's, we don't mind people making money, but we want the drivers and the consumers to be able to participate in either saving some money or be able to make some money themselves. So this next one with the gas prices, um, there was a video done here in Denver, and again, I'm sorry, a lot of this is going to be Denver centric, Colorado centric tonight, guys. At least for this first portion of it. Then we'll start getting into a bigger portion of it because we're going to talk about a couple bills that've been introduced into Colorado. But this is important for everybody because they're going to be things that are going to spread across the nation. So don't dismiss what's going on in Colorado and say it's only in Colorado, because these things are going to spread across the nation. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it in between. I'm going to let you be the judge of it, and I would love some comments in the chat to keep things going with this. And also to let me know, am I covering the right topics for you guys? Just because I find it interesting doesn't mean it's necessarily interesting. I want stuff that you guys are going to find interesting as well. It'll be up to me to make it interesting, but I think these topics are important to us for both the gig economy and rideshare drivers. So this is going to cover all those bases tonight, guys, and we'll just keep going on. So let's see what we got going on in the chat real quick before we go over to this video on gas prices. And I think we got the hellos to everybody that was in there right now. Waymo saves delivery robot from train tracks headline. That sounds like a bad AI video, Steve. I don't think that's real. I think they'd probably be competing to commit suicide or something. Or what do you call that when an inanimate object kills itself off? I haven't heard a term coined for that yet. Anybody know? There's got to be somebody that's into some futuristic dystopian stuff. There's got to be a name for that. And besides deprogramming, unplugging itself or whatever. But yeah, Steve, I don't think that's going to happen other than in the AI world. No superhero robots saving other robots, at least right now. Steve says he almost ran one off the road, Rhino, on Saturday. If y'all haven't seen Rideshare Rodeo's video, they are now entering into downtown, where previously they've been staying on the outskirts. They still have drivers with them, but they're now, as Steve had on his video, right in downtown. Rhino's a pretty busy area, and now that I almost ran one off the road. Now, was that an intentional act, or was that because they were doing? Don't answer that, Steve. I don't want you to answer that. We don't need you to be complicit in anything. Did you get another sticker on it, though? That's what I want to know. But so now Steve has a comment that says we're now relying on WTI crude. Brent crude is not going to pay. Brent acronym is not going to be flowing for a minute, and again, look, not trying to get political, but the politics are the reason all this crap is happening. Why are we not just tapping into the stuff we have? Steve, you've been in Colorado long enough to know, we still have some of the cheapest fuel prices in the country, which this video will show. For any of you that might be in California or on the East Coast, you're going to go, what the hell? That's still cheap gas prices. Cause I think there is on this video one little segment where it flashes the gas prices. So I do know that they say we're the amount that we're averaging, but that's a little higher than what we're having down here in Colorado Springs. We're a little less than up in the Denver market, and so let's see what else we have here in the chat before we jump over to this video, and then hopefully I'll remember. You should be able, the people that are listening to the podcast, there's enough narration with this video. You should be okay and be able to get everything squared away. But Steve wants to know why all the Waymos have California plates. Because they're probably going to ship them all back. That's probably where they have their original licensing permits for the just because they're an alphabet company and they're based out of California. I don't know where Waymo's based out of, but I bet you they're out of Northern California, just like the rest of them. So that to me is being I'm sorry I gave you the common sense answer to that, but yeah, that's the thing, Steve. They're not paying even the registration fees. That's a don't know if that's the point you were trying to make, but that's a really good point here. And I dropped my script, so bear with me. Okay, back to our regular scheduled program. Um, so yeah, that's they're not paying that. I don't even think they should qualify as a TNC, to be honest with you, Steve, and everybody else. And do you agree or disagree with that? Because TNC is a vehicle that you own or you operate, and we get into that whole renting, leasing, taxi cab thing. But why are they even considered a TNC? I don't think they should. I think they should have their own classification, and because in Colorado, it's about $76,000 a year. Uh, Once you have, I think it's over, I don't remember how many drivers, so I'm not gonna just throw a number out my ass. I'll have to look at that. But they have different tiers. So, but once you get to a top level tier, then you're paying $76,000 a year to operate as a TNC, and it's based on number of drivers. Based on number of drivers. That's how it's stated in the regulation. Well, when you have autonomous vehicles, there are no damn drivers. So why aren't they their own category? And why aren't they just, have their own regulation and, charge if small organizations like Drivers Co-op Colorado get charged $76,000 because they've, have over 500 drivers now, or whatever that number is, then why doesn't Waymo have to pay twice as much? Because just making everything fair, because there's no jobs for humans, or way less jobs for humans. So shouldn't they be paying their fair share to ensure that we're taking care of the humans? Because that's what everybody wants, is the robots taking care of us. So have the robots take care of us and pay more damn money. So yeah, absolutely, Steve. It brought up a great point. Steve, Rideshare Rodeo says Yellow Cab had to get state plates they operate in. Abso-freaking-lutely. But right now, as you pointed out, they're all California plates, no matter where they're operating. So again, this is that stuff. They're always trying to take money from the people. Why don't they go after the corporations and take some of that from them? Right now, this is the Wild West. So it's time to create some regulation. Come on, Colorado legislators, you love regulating crap. So get in there and start regulating frickin' Waymo before they get out of control. That's all I got to say on that one. Steve has another comment. It says, and bingo was his name-o, saying I'm on point. I don't know, this whole Waymo thing, again, it's just one more safety issues, regulatory issues. They're not paying their fair share. But again, we still have Governor Polis. And again, guys, I know I'm being very Colorado centric, but this is going to spread everywhere. And it is. Same thing in Austin, Texas, typically a very conservative area. They're running around with California plates and doing what they want and blocking ambulances in the middle of active shooter situations. And by the way, guys, as a follow-up to that, I did learn some new stuff. So I didn't plan on talking about this, but I'm going to mention it really quickly while we're still on the topic of Waymo. And I and a whole lot of other people, and Sue, you brought up a comment that they should have a override in them. So what I found out, so when that cop got into the car, he actually did move it. They cut the videos, so we didn't see that, but the cop actually moved the vehicle. So apparently he has a QR code. He scanned it on his phone. Then he gets in contact with the Philippines or wherever in the hell they're at. And then they're able to override the vehicle. So they're actually, and that was part of the protocols. And apparently there is training for law enforcement in these areas. So they have put that protocol in place. Now, has every officer been trained? As we saw, it still took a few minutes, as I was told from the follow-up stuff that I saw, for the officer to be able to move that vehicle. So it still didn't happen in a very timely manner. I mean, we need something instantaneous, particularly when you have something as serious as an active shooter going on and all this other crazy stuff going on in the world. The last thing you need is a cop to be a damn valet for a Waymo. This is stupid. Come on, Waymo, do better. All right, jumping back over to the chat, saw that Jam Woodworking Joe came in. How you doing, brother? Thanks for joining. We're just finishing up beating up Waymo here, and you're in California, man. Why are you guys collecting all the revenue on the Waymo vehicles? Why aren't they registering them in Colorado? Anyway, just poking at you, brother. So now to this gas thing. And Joe, you're in California, so don't laugh when you see the gas prices people are complaining about when we go over to this video about the gas prices in Colorado. But it's kind of an interesting take and how it's affecting rideshare drivers with it. So let's go ahead and jump over to this video.
Here at Union Station, where so many rideshare drivers often frequent, picking up both visitors and travelers coming home from the airport, and they tell me they are really feeling it this week. Pain at the pump.
The gas prices has been up and down.
Already hitting hard for rideshare drivers.
You watch that gas just going down to the E, and you're like, you know.
Like Ahmed El-Amarani, who prides himself on showing off Denver's beauty.
A lot of hiding spot for a visitor, that way they can come and visit our city.
Now a little harder as gas prices jump up due to the war in Iran.
Average price is up 54 cents a gallon from where we were a week ago. The state average now $3.47.
Gas Buddy petroleum analyst Patrick DeHaan telling me oil prices dropping to $84 a barrel after hours on Monday. A big shift from when prices jumped to $115 a barrel.
It's a little early to say the coast is clear, but this is certainly a positive development that could limit any future gas price increases.
For now, rideshare drivers like Joseph Guerrero say they're relying more on platforms like Co-op, a Denver driver-owned rideshare service.
Using Lyft, you have to make at least 20 to 30% more. With Co-op, I'm getting 80% of it, and that's helping me out more with the gas prices.
Same goes for Ahmed.
Well, it impacts a lot because right now I can see the drivers, they have to drive for free now.
All right, yeah, I know. 359, Joe. Joe says that in California, up in a little bit further north, 542 was what they were paying, and then on over in the New Jersey area, it looks like we're paying 327. Out freaking standing. That's about where we're at with fuel discounts down here in Colorado Springs, Sue. I paid $3.29 for fuel yesterday, so it varies. And in Denver, you can have a 30 cents variance with fuel prices. Here, the most you see is about 20 cents. So, but it is starting to impact drivers, and there's no offset for that. You know, I remember back whenever used to get when we had fuel prices all of a sudden escalating up, and then your trash company here in Colorado was trying to charge you, another $20 a month for a fuel surcharge. Hell, when I was back in the armored car business back in the 90s, even they tried the fuel surcharge thing. That was kind of a popular thing that was going on, and oh my gosh, people were making noise about it. So I'm not saying that's the answer, but somebody's got to pay for it, and the drivers are the ones that are taking care of everybody and doing the legwork, just literally destroying their vehicle to do these rides. How much do they have to keep giving up? when does some of that start getting passed off? And that doesn't mean when it gets passed off, if the consumer has to pay a little bit more, that doesn't mean Uber, Lyft, all rideshare companies, that you get to take that and not give it to the driver, and that you charge them even more. Let's just be reasonable about this. And so I don't know what the answer to that is, because I don't think anybody's ever come up with a good solution for it. But it'd be kind of interesting to have a roundtable chat at some point to figure out how do we deal with these little situations, because we don't want to price gouge the customers. But it's one of those things there's got to be some give and take from both sides of it. And right there, you saw from a couple drivers that both of those drive for drivers co-op. And I don't know, Ahmed actually comes in here once in a while, and Doug says, pop my volume a little bit. I will do that for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the info. Hopefully that helps a little bit. I'm trying not to peek out too much, because there's that really fine line with it. But anyway, yeah, Ahmed comes into the live here once in a while, and so maybe if he pops in, we'll see what he has to say about it. But have your gas pumping degree from Gas University. Well, when you do rideshare and food delivery, that's pretty much you get your master's degree in that pretty quickly if you're doing any kind of full-time work on it. And Doug, throw me a comment if that volume's a little bit better. All right, I'm going to take that. Thanks, as that took care of it. Like I said, just trying not to peek out on it too much. So I'm getting really excited tonight. So I pumped my volume down a little bit just because I didn't want to peek out and start crashing on it. So anyway, that's what we've got with that. Hopefully now with the fuel, with the $84 a barrel, hopefully the gas stations, we start seeing relief at the pump relatively quickly, because that hurts all of us. And if it lasts too long, then everybody's going to take advantage of it, and the consumer's going to get hit with it, and we'll get nothing out of it anyway. So hopefully that settles back down. That was just a little bit of emotion going on. So, all right. Legislation. There's been a couple things that dropped. The very last one, Doug, the very first one we're going to just very briefly talk about, Doug actually sent to me not even an hour before my podcast. But this is a really interesting one. This affects a whole lot of things beyond, and this is discussed at a national level too, guys. But Colorado is the first one that I know of that's introduced legislation. California might have, because Colorado seems to parrot everything that California does. But this is a bill for an act. Now, this sounds really stupid. I'm going to read it to you as what it is. Now I'm going to explain what it means. But this is literally, I think it was like a 14-page bill that I had no time to get through. I only skimmed through it, just getting a very brief overview of. So I'm not going to talk heavily about this week, but I will dig into it more. And but tomorrow there are two bills that are getting ready to go into the House Business Affairs and Labor Committee for review. So these are just freshly introduced bills. The first one we're going to talk about is concerning limiting the use of intimate personal data to make inferences that impact a person's financial position. That almost sounds like, I don't know, some kind of sex trade type stuff, but it's not. What it kind of summarizes is that we've heard about dynamic pricing from Walmart, like you're in there and then all of a sudden you go and pick up eggs, and then you go pick up milk. Well, then you go pick up flour, then all of a sudden the prices change on you because they know you're going to go bake a cake. So, your frosting prices are going to be $3 higher than it should be. and that's an exaggerated example, but this is a lot of what's going on. We saw Wendy's tried to do it, doing dynamic pricing based on time of day, and the consumers really had an uproar over it, and they pulled back on it. But we know Uber and Lyft have been doing this for years and years based on the consumer behavior, even down to if your cell phone battery is low. So there is legislation sitting here. And again, I'll dig into it more, but I would encourage any of you that want to read through this, go for it. And if you're so inclined, dig through it tonight and go show up to the hearing tomorrow and testify. It's House Bill 26-1210. 26-1210. So that's on that first bill. This is going to be really interesting to see what's going on with it. I was a little bummed that I didn't see it, because I even looked on the agenda for the House Business Affairs and what was coming up for it, and I totally missed that one. So Doug, thanks for sending that in. We'll do some follow-up and see what's going on. And rideshare rodeo sounds like an invasive procedure. Of course it is, whenever they're invading your privacy, but yes, it sounds a little more interestingly invasive than that. So the next one, this is huge, guys. This thing just dropped. I've got mixed opinions on it. This one is House Bill 26, so HB 26-1273, and this thing's enormous, guys, for the rideshare, and that they are setting the take amount that these companies are allowed to get, and they're setting it at 20%. Now, so that means the driver's supposed to be getting 80% of this, right? And they kind of, loosely define it. Again, this is just an introduced bill, so it'll go through a million different drafts, and may pass the House and then go to the Senate. We'll see what happens with it from there. But they're saying that Uber, Lyft, Drivers Co-op Colorado, any other rideshare company that comes in, any TNC can only take 20%. Now, as everyone knows, I do have an attachment to Drivers Co-op Colorado, but I am going to be speaking primarily from a driver's perspective and somebody who's ran a business. This is going to be very difficult to do. Particularly so from the Drivers Co-op standpoint, they're a brand new company. They don't have a lot of things in place, a lot of efficiencies that Uber and Lyft use. So it's going to be really difficult for them to be able to pull that off with a true 80% give to the drivers. Now, the other piece of this is Uber and Lyft, being as greedy as they are, and Lyft is bleeding at the gills, just waiting for DoorDash to come scoop them up and buy that dead dog and pull it down the road by its leash. That they have their own inefficiencies. They've got tons and tons of overhead. Okay, so this all sounds great on the surface. So what it has, the bill prohibits transportation network companies, TNCs, from retaining more than 20% of a consumer fare paid for by a driver's completion of a transportation task. Ignore the boring language. I didn't write it. I would have tried to write it a little bit less boring, but I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on television. Anyway, tasks through the TNC's digital platform. So again, that's pretty. This whole bill is only 5 pages long, and that's the first page. I mean, you lose most of it with nothing in it. This is it's really thin, which leaves a lot of opportunity for loopholes with it when it's so loosely defined. And even at one point in here, they think they're doing it to kind of shore up things, but see if I can find it really quickly, but they even make a comment in here that, it is loosely defined with intent. Well, when you loosely define things with intent, then that leaves creative attorneys. And look, guys, Uber has some amazing counsel. Amazing, you define that how you want, but they are very good at what they do. And you can't take that away from them. You may not like what they do, but you need to respect they know how to work the system and work around the system. And I figured out already a way that Uber can get around this. And they can use the co-op to say, well, it's already an existing model, so we're just kind of modifying that model a little bit. So with the Drivers Co-op Colorado, as many of you know, is that there's a membership because it's a cooperative. Okay, well, before we get in so deep on that, so there's precedents that are made to be members, and I got a little cringe face here. All right, hopefully we're back and everything's good. All right, sorry, I got derailed with looking at my little weird cringe face when it froze for a second. So hopefully you all didn't have to see that, but I'm sure you did. But anyway, so back to our regular schedule program here. We've got this going on. It's so loosely defined. It's very few pages right now, but that, of course, is going to change whenever legislation gets introduced. It gets all kinds of crap packed into it, and people throw their opinions in there, and then it just either dies or might end up getting at least passed to go over to the Senate. But it's feeling threatened about this, guys. And here's what we got going on with this. So this was an email sent out to Uber passengers already today. This bill just dropped and got scheduled for the committee tomorrow, but Uber's already throwing fear factors into people. It says new legislation being considered in Colorado could double the cost of rideshare in the state. If it moves forward, it would likely make rideshare unaffordable for millions of Coloradans who depend on it. I wouldn't agree with it. Millions of Coloradans depend on it. State Bill HB 1273 would require that rideshare drivers receive 80% of every fare, which sounds good on paper. The truth is, the remainder of the fare would not be enough to even cover the required costs like government-mandated insurance, taxes, local airport fees, and more. This without considering operational costs like background checks and safety screenings, which are also required by state law. So this is the email that was sent out to Uber passengers already today, trying to scare them into advocating against this. So this is one. It's also, by the way, sponsored by Jennifer Wilford, who was the one that introduced the rideshare safety bill last year that did pass both the House and Senate and went to the governor's desk to become law, but he vetoed it. So there's always the possibility he'll veto this one, but depending on how long the legislative session is, which I didn't look up yet, there could be time for it to go back and for them to override his veto if they think they have enough power and votes to be able to pull that off. So we've got a long way down the road with this one. It's going to be a while, but as I told you before, I've already figured out how Uber can get around this and will. And no, I'm not sharing anything with them. I'm sure they figured this out 3 months ago whenever this thing was being drafted. I'm sure they already caught wind of it whenever they immediately put this response out. That wasn't a response that was drafted overnight. Yes, that's correct, Steve. She is the one that made those claims. So there's a simple answer to this, guys, and I tip my hand to it a little bit. So with the co-op, you have to become a member. Well, one thing that's happened in other countries, specifically India, is that Uber has introduced subscription plans. So all they have to do is create a subscription plan and be able to deflect a whole lot of cost and make the drivers pay for it. So they can still keep their 20% commitment or keep their 80%, but meanwhile, they're going to charge the drivers a subscription. Well, you want to drive for 4 hours, it'll cost you $20. You want to drive for 24 hours, that'll be $100. And I'm just facetiously throwing out numbers, but y'all get the point here. And this is exactly that drive pass. That is literally from India, and this is successfully being done in India. Now, culturally, it's a whole lot different there. But the other thing, guys, is the subscription plan is something that is not a foreign concept and people aren't adapt to. Look what's going on with Empower. Yeah, I know I said Empower, and yes, they're operating illegally, but Empower, if they would operate legally, would gain a whole lot of traction. That's the bottom line. People are ready to take on, whatever they need to do, but Empower is just unwilling to see. Awesome. All right. Well, now we're back here. Sorry about getting frozen again there, guys. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but anyway, so we got some comments from the peanut gallery here. Doug made a comment, not from the peanut gallery, about the commercial insurance, and that is exactly it. Doug, the commercial insurance, like it or not, is extremely expensive, and then you have to pay $76,000 just to be a tier 1 TNC in Colorado. So it's really cost prohibitive for a new player in the market. And then there's a lot of expense with doing rideshare, guys. So I'm not sure, without a ton of automation and taking people out of it, which Uber and Lyft have pretty much done anyway, I don't know that we're going to be able to successfully do it. But anyway, back to the peanut gallery. We got India has Uber X, Uber Black, and Uber Elephant. I was not aware of Uber Elephant. Are they using Indian elephants, or are they using African elephants for Elephant XL, Steve? And then Bubba Sue says, and Rickshaw. Is that Rickshaw X? Because I don't think you can, those guys can probably haul too many people around, so it's probably going to be Rickshaw X. Yeah, I know my connection's wonky. I have no idea what's going on because my CPU usage is fine and everything shows good on my end. Shows I've got plenty of bandwidth and my CPU usage. It did peak up just to 75 just now, so maybe there's something going on with that, but we'll continue to monitor it. And we'll stay away from all the little fancy little pictures and things like that. That seems to be maybe what's kind of causing a problem. So anyway, this is going to be really interesting to see what's happening. There's an opportunity for the public to sign up and go testify, whether you support it or not. I wrote Jennifer Wilford an email today. I'm not confident I'm going to hear anything back from her. So we'll see where this one goes, and we'll just continue to monitor it, guys. And we may start trying to drum up some Colorado people to generate some action with it. And otherwise, that's what we got going already 41 minutes into this, and we haven't even hit our big topic yet. This is the thing that everybody has been waiting for all year. Whenever you're in the gig economy, you want to know what the state of affairs are with the gig economy. And so that email report finally came out. I am scanning through here to make sure I didn't miss any other topics before we jump into what was going to originally be the main topic. But these two bills, guys, again, I know you don't feel like they're necessarily going to impact you because you're not in Colorado, but mark my word, there is going to be some backlash. No matter what happens, somebody's going to get a bright idea they can do it better, and even if it fails in Colorado, it'll try and get reintroduced somewhere else. So next thing is as I talked about, the 2026 Gridwise annual gig mobility report. This thing keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. It is now up to 79 pages. This thing's huge. So I took quite a bit of time. I went through that, and I'm just trying to highlight a few things with it. And I'd encourage all of you to download it that are like all of you are that are here. You guys care about gig work, you care about doing it right, and you want to know about what the trends are with it and what the state of the union is with it. Download the report. Look at it when you can't go to sleep. It'll put you to sleep. No, it's actually a really well done report. They do a great job, and they got lots of pictures too. So it makes it simple for people like me. But yeah, this 79-page report, it's a map to really, what our livelihoods are about for people that are doing it full time and even trying to supplement their income part time. And, when the economy gets bad, we see more and more of that. And then when we got fuel prices going up, we got to figure out how to maximize that. And what does the future of that look like? Well, the three main key things that I pulled out from this was rideshare prices went up 9.6%. So 10%. And when, our CPI, again, depends on if you want to follow that index. I think everybody feels our inflation rate's been higher than 2.5%. And that's a government statistic, so take it for what it's worth. But we will we'll continue to dig into this more. Steve said to bring the report in Thursday. So yeah, we can talk about that more Thursday if you want to, Steve. And yeah, let's have the Gridwise CEO. We can talk to him about that next month. That would I look forward to that one. So, but yeah, sure. And this is Rideshare. We're going to talk about food delivery also, guys. So don't fall asleep on me for the people that do, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and all the other stuff out there. But 9.6%, so went up almost 10%. And driver gross pay per trip reportedly grew 3.6%. I don't know anybody that's making more money than they did the year before doing rideshare. But apparently, the Gridwise, they capture market data from all over. So again, this is just average for across the United States. And they've given me never a reason to believe their data is not properly represented. It may have some missing gaps and things, but so they're saying driver pay grows 3.6%. Now, here's the big one, guys. And for you riders out here, I know you're going to agree with this, and we hear it from the riders all the time. The take rate, that's how much they're taking, increased 33.2%. 33.2%. And we'll get into that a little bit because we wonder why we feel that we're getting less rides. I think there are less rides. And I think that's one of the reasons. It's not because there's more drivers. There are more drivers, which is a problem in itself. But 33.2%, that's they increased by a third. What the hell are they doing with this money? How many vacations to Cabo can you have? So the slices for us keep getting thinner. The slices for the Uber and Lyfts of the world keep getting bigger. And the consumers, the riders, keep paying more. So that's going to create more tension between the riders and drivers. You barely get a little bump saying the data is accurate for the gross pay per trip. You get 3% increase, but then your fuel prices are increasing, 10, 15%. Well, you're still behind for the year with it. So with that 33% increase, 60.4% of riders have reduced their usage. So yes, guys, when it feels there's less rides out there, there are less rides out there because people are turning to go take the bus. They're walking. We see more and more scooters and e-bikes out there than ever before, which is great because people need to get out and get some fresh air and and some exercise. But they're not doing it for those reasons. They're doing it because they have to. Sorry, Steve caught me off guard with a comment there, but they have to do this to be able to survive. And I don't know about the rest of you, but how many times do you guys pick somebody up at the bus station and they're like, yeah, I used to ride share, but they had to quit because it was costing them way too much. But then the bus doesn't show up, or the bus is running late, and they're going to be late to work, so they end up having to take a ride share anyway. So we become the rescue rides for when the bus services fail, which is fine. We'll continue to be there for people, but how many of us are going to be able to be there to continue for the people when they keep squeezing more and more money out of the consumers? And people have said that if it increases anymore, they're going to stop using rideshare. And that's what the data says. It's not me. It's not the sentiment that, of the 10, 20 rides I do a day or whatever it is, depending on the day. This is actual collected data that has merit. They're kind of like the new Nielsen. The hell knew Nielsen, by the way, was even out anymore? I know I'm getting totally sidetracked here for a second, but we're talking about, data and surveys and stuff. And I went to my mail today to pick that up. And by the way, there's at least $3 in that thing. So they're going to get me to open this sucker. But did anybody know Nielsen ratings was still a thing? I didn't even know they still did that. You remember when you used to get the phone calls and it'd be like, oh, we'd like to take a survey and blah, 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 blah. Well, apparently my time. But the good thing is, my time is worth more than a $2 no-tip DoorDash order because I got at least $3 in here. So anyway, I digress quite a bit, but I thought that was kind of funny. We were having this conversation. I went to my mailbox today, and that sucker was in there. Unbeknownst to me, they still are doing things. So we'll see what... I'm going to fill this out and say my favorite podcast is the Rideshare Zone. Then my second one will be the Rideshare Rodeo podcast. So anyway, okay, back to our regular scheduled program here. So 60.4% of consumers have reduced their rideshare usage, which is a 16.6% increase from the previous year, meaning its usage has decreased. So it's continuing to go down is the story, guys. So we finally hit the floor, hit the ceiling, however you want to verbalize it. And people are saying that $30 Uber ride is just, it's not worth it. So I'm not going to go out and do the things I would do. I'm not going to go over to the friend's house and watch the hockey game. Steve, you don't have any hockey fans because you're a Red Wings fan, so you can't relate to that. We'll come up with something for you. But, people aren't going to get together. So we're going to continue to, separate ourselves from society. Not blaming Uber and Lyft on that because, they can go still take the, they can still go take the bus or walk. But I'd be interested to see if there's any parallels to the increase of usage of scooters and other things, because I also pick a lot of people up that bought scooters and then they get injured because they're not as agile as they thought they were, and end up having accidents from it. So there's got to be some balance here. Is a story on that with the breaking point. The consumers are getting squeezed too hard, and we're suffering for it. And they just continue to increase prices, and then Waymo's going to come in. They're going to buy the market. So the other interesting thing that I saw in this report, moving on to it, was about tipping. So we're going to get into delivery tipping now at this point, guys. So we got rideshare versus delivery tipping. So rideshare tips are an all-time high. They're up $1.58 average higher than they have been, which kind of aligns with the CPI. But delivery tips are down to $4.16 on the average, which is a big drop. And again, because people know they got to get their food delivered, especially when DoorDash has a $2 base pay, then they've got to give a tip. So the tipping has always been, not always, has typically been higher with that. But there was a big drop in that, and unfortunately, I didn't write that down how much the drop was. But why is it going down in the delivery? We've talked about this on Steve's Rideshare Rodeo podcast. It's because they keep hammering people with fees, more and more and more fees. We talked about this. They're charging 30% to the restaurant. Then they mark up the prices another 30%. So, and then they offer a whole whopping $2 to the delivery driver. And the only way people are going to get their stuff delivered is if they throw better. But they're still continuing to go down. We're seeing more people continue to say, I'm going to learn to make a meal at home. Now, we don't have anybody that I know of that's in any of our guaranteed wage markets, but there was pretty interesting things about that with the guaranteed wage market, is that tipping frequency, and this is talking about delivery, went from 92% down to 44% with the guaranteed wage markets. So let me ask this. Is it worth a minimum guaranteed pay if your tips are dropping? Now, I think there's going to be some people that'll be like, I don't care. I'll just sit around, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to work the minimum and make the minimum. But for the people that are out there really hustling and trying to truly make some money at this, what do you think? Does the guaranteed wage hurt? Prop 22, we hear all kinds of comments back and forth. Massachusetts has a minimum guaranteed pay law, and there's always going to be people that are trying to work the system and get around it and so on and so forth. That's just life. That's why certain political spectrums don't work, because some people are lazy and some are going to work harder than others. So equality for everybody doesn't work. That's a utopian theory there. All right, so regrouping here with my thoughts. Oh, rideshare bonus pay surges. Bonus pay. Guess how much they're up, guys? Because we're being gamified. They're up 33%. Now, what I didn't see in the report, maybe I missed it because this is a huge report, are the base pays dropping for rideshare? Well, of course they are. Whenever you throw these fake bonuses, these fake surges, turbo zones, and you go on these quests. You got a quest of do 100 rides between now, in a 72-hour period. Nobody's going to make that. Even if you go and take these little quick, 2-mile rides for $4.55 or whatever the heck they are, and then you end up getting your whole $1.22 extra per ride. But meanwhile, you get all these people on these short rides where you're not making any damn money because they take forever to get out to your car. So that's interesting that they say that the rideshare bonus pay is up nearly 33%. That just tells me that they've discovered a gamification that works to their benefit, because we're not seeing that in return. Even said so that 3.6% was the increase in wages for drivers. So that in itself proves that 33% is offset by reducing the base pay, as we see. So we can sit there and we can do the math and prove it. That's the thing I love about data. You get the right numbers, you can prove things, but you can also tell a malicious story if you're only sharing part of the data. But this report does the best that I've seen with really being able to quantify things and make them make sense. So the maths. So let's take a break here and go over to the chat and see what we've missed for a little bit here. So Bubba Sue says she gets the Nielsen envelopes, and yes, they're down. And I think she's referring to the tips. Bubba Sue says, because it eventually will get delivered no matter if they tip or not. You haven't been into Taco Bell late at night and seeing all those no tip orders just piled up that nobody's going to take. Steve says guaranteed wage is a train wreck in every state, and I would 100% concur with that, Steve. And thank goodness we've avoided that. But Steve and I also love being independent contractors, where a lot of people are screaming that they want to become W-2, and day that happens, I am done with gig work, because I like my schedule, I like my freedom, and I like the ability to be able to not be gamified and still make money doing this. I'm going to skip the quest comment, Steve. We'll leave that for the people in the chat here. So Bubba Sue says her quest are 20 rides for $10. See? And 50 cents a ride. Woo, yeah, I'm gonna go kill myself in my car for that. That's exactly what I want to be doing. That's just more of this gamification crap. You get that little rush, and woo, yay, I feel like a winner. But you're not looking at your bank. Choose some financial literacy, folks. Look at your bank statements and your fuel bills and your maintenance, and see, does that match up with that little dopamine rush that they give you for these stupid little quests and everything else? And I'll guarantee they don't. Stop chasing the surges. We've heard it over and over and over. It's kind of interesting because if you look at this, that's what if you look at it from an uninformed standpoint, that's what a lot of this should tell you. It's like, oh, the bonus pays up 33%. That means go chase the surge. No, it doesn't. You have to look at the full picture. And that's what I'm trying to make sure we're describing here, is giving people an accurate representation. And it's not because Gridwise is trying to misrepresent it. There's just so much data here. You have to connect the dots. You can't just look at some outlier and say that that's the answer to everything, because that couldn't be the further from the truth. You have to let the numbers, work themselves forward and backward. Oh, I don't even know if I want to talk about this one. All right, we're gonna look at this. This is nothing as surprise. I mean, all the other streamers and everybody, we've all talked about it with autonomous vehicles. They're a huge impact to the markets that they're in. Sergio's talked about it in the LA market that he's in over and over and over. They're killing the market. And as I've said, Waymo is buying themselves customers, and they're successfully doing it, guys. So the reality is, we don't like them. We can only pray that somebody does something logical before there's a major incident or several major incidents. Unfortunately, it's the only way we are as human beings, that we react to things like that. Nobody's willing to respond to it. We'll sit here, and I'm going to continue to say it out loud, how dangerous these things are, and demonstrate over and over with videos, and hopefully we'll get some attention that matters at some point. But right now it does feel like a losing battle, but I don't care. I'm still going to do it. And they're killing the economy of the gig world and humans. So again, shouldn't be a TNC. They're not a TNC. They're not part of the gig world. Now, I appreciate they put this data in the report, because it's significant to us as gig workers about how it's impacting us, and we need to be aware of that. And you can listen to all the scare tactics and everything and all the videos from me and everybody else. It's like, oh my gosh, Waymo sucks. Oh, they're awful. They're doing this and that. Guys, they're financially crushing the gig economy little by little, and they don't give a damn. So it does say, and I think this is conservative from what I've seen, it says that driver pay is decreased by 3.7% in the LA market, just because of Waymo. And I think it's higher than that, and seen a lot of data from a lot of the other people, again, Sergio specifically, that says that. So guys, we're going to continue to probably do a little more digging into the gig mobility report. Again, you can go download it yourself, Gridwise Analytics, and the annual gig mobility report 2026. But we'll be talking about it, sounds like, more on Thursday, where I will be streaming live with Steve on the Rideshare Rodeo podcast for Thursday night. So much for coming in. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we have frozen again. So, all right, there we go. Guys, I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for supporting me and this adventure that we're on, and continuing to just keep pushing on. We're going to raise awareness to all these issues one way or another. Eventually, I'll get big enough that I'm going to be enough of a pain that we can hopefully get some legislators on here and do some interviews with them. And this is good stuff, guys. Let's just keep in there, keep grinding. Don't lose your focus, and don't follow the gamification. Be safe out there. You guys have a wonderful week. We will see you Thursday on the Rideshare Rodeo podcast, and then we'll see you back here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, for both of those, by the way. Good night, y'all.